Tom, this has been a case that I know that you have worked very hard on. This office has worked very hard on. All departments involved have worked very hard on. Um, the outcome today, not quite a max, but it's definitely justice.
Well, I mean, justice isn't defined as a max sentence, and we certainly don't look at it that way. We thought that the jury's verdict was appropriate. We thought that the jury's verdict was just. However, we don't take any pleasure in this. As it's been said by many people and the family here before, there are no winners in this. It's not one side wins and one side loses. One family lost their child 2.5 years ago, and one family gets to watch their child walk off to the penitentiary for 15 years. There's no winners. But justice was served, and as you heard in close, what we were mainly concerned with is just to give parents the ability to sit down with their kids and say, hey, sweetheart, let's talk at the dinner table. If you this isn't a joke. If you engage in this kind of behavior, there's real consequences, and you may go to the Texas penitentiary. If just one family can have that conversation, then something good will come out of this. But Texas, year after year, is either at the top or close to the top of alcohol-related traffic fatalities in this country. And as Texans, that should be unacceptable to us. We should be embarrassed by that. And worse, the West Texas region, in this area, Lubbock and surrounding counties, is at the top of the state. And I've heard lots of reasons why that's so. I think some of them are legitimate, some of them are not, but it doesn't change the fact that we lose too many people to that kind of behavior. As Ms. Landers talked about in her close, we have an influx. Tens of thousands of students that come here every semester to go to our good university, and their parents send us here with the plea of please protect our babies. And as long as this message will get out, and maybe, just maybe, somebody makes a different decision when they've been drinking and they grab those keys and their thoughts are clouded and they just decide to take a different path and either get a cab, use Uber, stay there, do something else, then that means that May's life stood for something.
In your closing arguments, you talked about the advertising campaigns not being as effective as one would hope. Can you explain that?
Well, and this isn't in any way to slight those campaigns. We've worked very closely with Anheuser-Busch on their regional DWI summits that they do here with Standard Sales. Y'all have done stories on that year after year. And I'm not saying anything saying that that's disingenuous at all. The point that I was trying to make is for folks to sit there and say that they're not aware of the dangers of intoxication driving is like claiming that people aren't aware of the dangers of smoking. And PSAs, that information being out there, the campaign, the PR campaigns that Anheuser-Busch and similar companies dump millions and millions of dollars in, those are all good. But obviously it's not having the effect that we want. There has to be a secondary component. With some people, fear of criminal involvement adds that extra bonus that'll keep them on the straight and narrow. Some people follow the law because they're good people, they're law-abiding people, they want to follow the law. Some people do it because of fear of getting caught. I don't care what the motivation is, as long as we quit losing the number of Lubbockites that we're losing on our roads.
I was just wondering if you were aware that Jason White was going to plead or enter that plea of guilty at the beginning of this trial.
There are some things that after you've been doing this for a few years, you see and you look at. We had a pretty good suspicion, both Ms. Landers and I did, that at the voir dire, the jury selection, when the defense focused mainly on punishment, mainly on probation, and didn't put out those things that you usually see when you know attorneys are going to start contesting the facts of the case. If he was going to contest the intoxication, they'll usually say, and you're going to hear from a DPS chemist, these will be the problems. They telegraph. Now, granted, we didn't know that for 100% certain, and it could have been just chalked up to the defense not wanting to give us a heads up on what their tactic was, which the law allows them to do. The law also allows any defendant to come in there at the very last second, change their plea from not guilty to guilty. I think that was a good path to take, because it showed a jury that he was remorseful and was going to man up and accept responsibility for his actions to that degree, and took responsibility for those things. And we do give him credit for that, and we do say that that's a good thing to do. It doesn't change the fact that he took a life. And if you take a life under these circumstances, there just simply has to be a penalty that has to be paid. And we think that penalty was assessed today.
And there was a lot of talk on the defense side about probation and all these resources or these programs that are available to Mr. White. Are those also available to him in prison?
Well, in Texas Department of Corrections, there are substance abuse programs for those that wish to accept it. Some of those programs look good to a parole board. Some of them become somewhat mandatory. AA is there, NA is there. All those programs are available for people that wish to take advantage. And simply the fact that he's in the penitentiary doesn't mean that he can't address those issues should he needs to. And I'm not saying that Mr. White has a substance abuse problem. I don't know. We have people that are, and you've covered those stories before, even here recently, about people that are on their 8th, 10th, 11th DWI. Those people obviously have a substance abuse problem. I don't know about Mr. White, but in the end, the same result, whether you're a long-term alcoholic and you're driving, or whether you're just a full-time student, a youngster that doesn't appreciate it and still engages in the same behavior, you know you shouldn't, and tragically it has the same results.